Purchase decision. This is where we were in the last video, and we'll continue in this video understanding the fourth step in the purchase decision. We had looked at the earlier steps, starting from problem recognition, information search, evaluation of alternatives, and right now we're on the fourth step, wherein the consumer has finally arrived at a point where he's ready to make a decision to buy, where he had a lot of alternatives and finally he's made a decision as to which brand to buy from. These are the things which is a question which is going to be a very common question in the consumer's mind at this stage. Which brand? He has already finalized his brand. From whom should he purchase? As in, or rather, from where? Whether he should go to an offline store, whether he should go to the branded store itself, or should go to a marketplace like Flipkart or any other store where other multiple brands are being sold, whether you should purchase online, either online from other market platforms or from the branded store itself. How many? Now, how many, when I talk about, it's not really, it again comes from the category. If it's higher durable items, consumer durables, then you're talking in terms of one. But if you're talking about low value items, then you're talking in terms of quantity. When to buy? Now, finally, when you have decided on a type of brand to buy, then you would probably think of going at a time like during festival sales, during times when there are deals being offered, when there are multiple discounts being offered, or probably some bundling offer being provided along with, let's say, I always think of laptop as an example because I can think of mm, it associated examples along with it. So let's say a laptop along with a flash drive, along with some Microsoft Office home edition being provided free along with that licensed version. Anything. The idea is that you're going to wait for a particular period of time, say online or offline, around the time when to buy. When is the big question that comes to your mind at this stage. The next thing that comes to your mind is, how do I pay? Financing options. Am I going to pay cash on delivery? Am I going to be purchasing on cash or through card, or the other avenues that are available to me, whether it's what do you say, no cost EMI, or whether if I'm going to be purchasing from with an interest based EMI for a high value item. The idea in understanding what a consumer looks at this point is also important for the marketer, because at each stage of the purchase decision, the marketer can actually try to influence the customers by. Of course, the customer has looked through, has gone through the process of search as well as alternative evaluation. But when he reaches the purchase stage, uh, by providing him with a multitude of options for payment, like now you have UPI payment and you have card payment and you have different modes of payment, online NEFT payment, or you're talking about what do you say, no cost EMI kind of deals with different banks and offers. So by giving him multitude of options, by giving him specific deals, by personalizing the deal specific to a customer, if he has been looking at a product for quite a long time and he's been mulling on it for quite a long time, then these days it's easy, it's possible for you to understand how long has he spent on a particular brand page, and how long has he considered buying that, how long has he put it into his cart, how many times has he taken it out of his cart, whether he's put it into his wish list. So you know that wish list items are probably something he's thinking of purchasing at some time in future. So why not give him an offer right now? Give him wish list specific deals so that you trigger him to do a purchase. So this is the kind of actions that a marketer takes when he realizes that customer has reached that final stage. Now all I need to give him is that final push. What should I do? What tactics should I use in trying to give him that push? And when it comes to that, how many question, can I give him a one plus one free? And can I say buy two, get one free, or buy three, get two free? These are things which are tried in the clothing, fashion accessories segment, where you generally make him purchase more, so that he purchases more, so that at the end of the day he feels that he's getting too free, but at the end of the day you are also getting a good value for your investment, so that he buys more products from you. You probably make him purchase items of 2000 and rather give him like 200 off, and say purchase more than 399 and you're getting whole delivery charges or shipping charges are taken off. All of these are actually tactics, having understood the consumer behavioral aspect, having understood what he does at each point of his decision making behavior. Then we move on to the next stage, which is the post purchase decision evaluation or use based evaluation. You have already purchased a product, you've used it for some particular period of time, and now if you are satisfied, you become a loyal customer and you'll have a positive word of the outcome is you are going to be giving a positive word of mouth or a positive review you leave on the site. You'll leave a good rating about it. You'll probably talk about it if in different platforms, and you will kind of become a brand advocate if you are highly satisfied. We talked about the understanding of customer delight. You are really delighted, you can become a brand advocate. If you are unsatisfied, you would want to return that product, you'll complain about the product, you'll give really negative feedback about the product, you would want to try to reach out to the customer support and really give your review ratings about them, and you'll have a negative word of mouth, which is kind of going to impact the brand at the end of the day. If they have even a single unsatisfied customer, these are things you'll do post purchase. But you need to understand that this stage, use stage, is something which some brands do very good marketing at this point in time, where they try to get really good customer testimonials at this point. What they try to do, there's a brand called Surf, which does this very well. Way back since the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they've been doing this. But I don't know 70s, but I do know 80s and 90s, they've been trying to do this. There was this lady called Lalita Ji, a very old ad. You can always Google it out. You can always try to check it out on YouTube, where she says, "सर्फ की खरीदारी में ही समझदारी है." It's something which kind of stuck for a very long time among people. Surf be having established itself in the detergent market. They generally get people to talk about their product. Where in their ads also, it's more like people are. It's like Surf is saying that yeah, talking about certain aspects where it keeps your clothes fresh, your clothes are not damaged, or it's very light, it's light on the clothes, your hands are not damaged. They take a different angle point of view. Your hands are clean, your hands are not damaged when you're using detergents, because essentially it's always known that using detergents, your hands would get generally women who utilize a lot of detergents and their hands being really soft, they tend to have a lot of wear and tear on their hands. So they say your hands don't get damaged. That's also a way of trying to tell you at the use stage, use it, and it's actually really effective, not in terms of what it claims to do. In terms of the basic function of a detergent is to keep your clothes clean, and also provide the basic function of the detergent, but also it helps goes beyond that, and the person who's using it, his hands do not get damaged. So this leads to a customer making his final decision and really going for it. So kind of you're also influencing him on the purchase decision, and you're also giving a post-purchase evaluation right in the beginning by talking about people who are really satisfied and giving some kind of testimonial. Having understood the entire five-stage buying process, we'll now look at the concept of moment of truth, or the Z mod, also known as the zero moment of truth. We look at an example of how P&G, Procter and Gamble, has tried to highlight this. They talk about moments of truth as in three different moments of truth, or three consumer moments. What basically is moments of truth? There's nothing but you've done all your advertising. You've claimed that your brand does this and your brand does that. Moment of truth is when you come face to face and with the product that you have purchased. You are finally realizing what it is all about. It's that moment of truth when you face it and you realize that this is what the product claim to do, and this is what the product actually does, whether it does what it claims or whether it does something which it doesn't claim. So the zero moment of truth is when you search for an information about a brand or product, is when the zero moment of truth is the first time you get introduced to the product, whether it is by online ads, whether you're looking at the ad on your laptop, doesn't matter which device, but when is the first time you've come across the product through different channels. Okay. When you learn about the product, it's a zero moment of truth. Whether it is an ad or whether your friend has told you about it, whether you've read about it somewhere, that's your zero moment of truth. The first moment of truth is when you choose to purchase that product. In a PNG example, let's say you pick it up from a store shelf or a supermarket. The second moment of truth is when you've actually used it and you decide whether to buy it again. Because when you use it, you'll know whether it is effective or not effective. If it's effective, has made you satisfied, you'll decide to buy it again. This is what a moment of truth in marketing is all about. The Z-Mot, the three different consumer moments of truth. Let's look at Google as an example. When Google has actually tried to define this concept, this is how they have given it. When they had to take up the example of a smartphone, they say there are four phases of the consumer decision journey in terms of moments of truth, not three. As PNG said, there's three. They also talk about the similar one, but they go a step earlier. They say there is a stimulus, there is a trigger which makes you buy something. Okay, there's a trigger even before you get introduced about the product. The trigger could be a stimulus, could be internal stimulus or an external stimulus, could be anything. Okay, based on that stimulus, you are something that influences you on what brand to purchase is your zero moment of truth, or the time when you are information seeker, when you search for information about that particular product. So what they're trying to say is you already had a stimulus to purchase a kind of product. When you do your information search and you get influenced on what brand to purchase, that is when you get introduced to the brand, and that's your zero moment of truth. Your first moment of truth is when you've actually purchased it, and post purchase is your final moment of truth, or the ultimate moment of truth, when you've actually used it and realized as to what the product is all about. This final moment of truth can make or break a brand in terms of whether they claim to have delivered what they have promised. Moving on from this concept, we'll look at the moderating effects on consumer behavior. When we talk about this moderating effects of consumer behavior, we're talking basically about the path by which a consumer moves through the decision-making stages, depending on several factors, including the level of involvement and the extent of variety seeking. So what we are talking about here is the level of involvement of a user when he tries to purchase any product. There's something called low involvement purchases and high involvement purchases. And to the extent of how much is he seeking for variety in a particular product. In trying to understand the moderating effects on consumer behavior, what affects a consumer in trying to purchase a lower involvement or high involvement product, we come to the point of understanding the types of buying. This gives rise to the type of buying decisions, which are four: a complex buying behavior, dissonance reducing buying behavior, habitual buying behavior, or a variety seeking buying behavior. Let's look at all of this into a matrix, to a 4 by 4 matrix, where we're evaluating this matrix on two criteria based on the four types of buying behavior. One criteria is the involvement, and the other criteria is the significant differences between brands. That is significant, that is high differences between brands and low differences between brands. And on the right side, we're looking at the high involvement as well as low involvement. I'm taking these two concepts of involvement and differences between brands. If we try to plot them on a 4 by 4 matrix, we get four different types of buying behavior. We get, to start with, we get the complex buying behavior in the first matrix, in the first quadrant, where let's look at an example of buying a high involvement product, where there's a lot of differences between a lot many brands. There are a lot many brands out there in the market when we talk about buying a car, and it's not a decision that you take overnight. You will go through a lot of information search, you will go through a lot of alternatives, you'll take your time in trying to come up with a decision. In such a point in time, it's a complex buying behavior that a consumer would be exhibiting. When we talk about dissonance reducing buying behavior, we do not have, let's say, an example of buying a diamond ring. There are not many brands out there which are selling diamonds, very few brands. You would basically be able to pick yourself on the top of the mind. Now, right now, if I'm trying to think of brands, I'm really not able to think of diamond brands. You see, that's the reason I can think of Gitanjali right there. I'm able to think of one right now. Any other brand that I can think of in terms of pure diamond selling brands, it's not really coming to my mind because there are very few brands out there. High involvement, there's a lot of means a high value purchase, so there's going to be a high involvement from the consumer. It's not something he'll decide, okay, chalo, I want to buy a diamond today, let me just go enter the store and buy a diamond. No, that's not going to be happening. Now, what do the marketers do in such a case? In such cases, what the marketers do in they try to validate that this diamond is of high quality, and these days the sellers have found a way to do that. They give you a certificate when you buy a diamond. The certificate is by a certificate issuing authority called De Beers, and there are other certificate issuing authorities which guarantees you the quality of the diamond used and the carat, the number of carats being used in the diamond, and they talk about the certificate being valid, and you can always, if you have that certificate, it's a certified diamond of this quantity of carat, as well as certified with this certifying authority. When you talk about the third quadrant matrix, we're looking at in the matrix, we're looking at the third item, which is low involvement, but having significant difference between brands. Let's look at an example of variety seeking behavior, which is buying a pack of cookies or biscuits, call it anything that you would want to. Uh, in this case, there are a lot of brands when you go to buy biscuits. Now, variety seeking behavior, inherently, we are people who like to purchase different varieties of biscuits at different points in time. That could easily be because not of ads, but just because today I've tasted, let's say, chocolate flavored biscuit from a particular brand, say X. Tomorrow, when I go to purchase biscuits, if the biscuit is over, I go to purchase biscuits or cookies, I may want to try something new, not because there is another brand out there which is marketing its product, just because I want to try something new. It's a very low, I won't think much. I'll see something, there's a strawberry biscuit, I want to try something strawberry. At this point in time, the brand does not matter to me. In here, what the marketers really do at this point in time, they try to highlight how different they are. If you see in stores, if you go to shelf, people buy shelf spaces in stores, brands buy shelf spaces, they try to stock. You see Britannia, probably in a supermarket that you visit, Britannia would have purchased a larger shelf space by paying to that supermarket owner, saying, we would pay you so much, give us a larger shelf space. So a lot of Britannia biscuits would be highlighted, less number of, let's say, another brand of biscuits which will be highlighted there, or they'll stock less. So you know that you have more choices from different types of Britannia biscuits. So you're trying to, that a consumer is seeking variety, so give him variety, give him different flavors, give him different tastes, give him creamy biscuits, non-creamy biscuits, coconut biscuits, non-coconut biscuits, give him different types, because he's not going to think twice in purchasing. It's a low involvement product. The next category is about habitual buying behavior. Let's say you just have to go purchase milk, you just have to purchase bread, you just have to purchase anything eggs, or anything you buy on a daily basis. So eggs do not have brands. I guess I have not heard of brands. Let's say bread. How many choices do you get? There are just three or four brands which are there in the superstore. You just go pick up any one. If you are specific about health, then you'll pick up, say, a wheat bread, not a milk bread. And wheat bread, you may have just two varieties. Probably the superstore you visit may have only one. Very few difference between brands, very low involvement. It's about things that you need on a day-to-day basis that exhibit a habitual buying behavior. That's all we have. That's all I have for types of buying decision behavior. And we reach the end of this video and the end of the consumer behavior um, module. Let's meet up In the next video, we will learn about the concept of marketing mix. Thank you so much.